just quickly run through what I'm going to use. Obviously the stars are on TV tomorrow. So I'm using the stars. Obviously I'm using the gamer kit. Now I've already put my pieces together for the gamer pieces that I wanted to use. But if you've not seen the video that I did actually putting it together, I will link that video at the end of this video when I edit it and put it onto YouTube, okay? So obviously I'm using the other two pieces that went with the gamer kit, the larger sentiments and the smaller ones, as Tina did. So yeah, I've used the Starry Night embossing folder for the little squares that go on the front, but I think they might have been better if I hadn't. I've used the nested stitch bubble squares as Tina did, and I've only used the two smallest ones out of the middle, okay? They're the perfect size for this card. And then when I was looking at Tina's yesterday, when I was putting all this together, I thought, that's not one of the stars out of the nested stitch stars. Where's she had that from? And I suddenly remembered the essential accessories set. So that's everything that I'm using. Now I have got a base already put together. And the reason that I've put one together already is because I wanted to make sure that it was properly stuck down and nothing was going to come apart. But I will show you how I put it together. Okay, so I'm making a second base, if you like. So, pens and paper at the ready. For the base, the outside of the base, you will need 4 pieces of card, which measure 6 1/4 by 1 3/4. Okay, and then you're going to score these. Now I know that when I messaged Tina to talk to her about this, she did say that the front panel she'd made a little bit bigger just to fit the sentiment on, and having put it together I understand why. So these are the score lines for this particular card because of the gamer sentiment that's going on the front. So this one is going on the front, and because it's quite wide, you just need that front panel to be a little bit wider. So this one is, as I said, 6 1/4 by 1 3/4, and I said you need 4. You don't need 4, you only need 2. So the score lines are 1/2 inch, 1/2 inch, 2 1/8, 4 1/8, and 5 3/4. Okay, so you've got 2 square side panels, and then that one is slightly elongated to fit that sentiment on. So I'm just going to do the other one, 1/2 inch. Did I say 1/2 inch? Yeah, 1/2 inch, 2 1/8, 4 1/8, and 5 3/4. Okay, so that's your 2 base pieces that you're going to put together. Now on one of these pieces you just need to snip off the 1/2 inch pieces at either end. Okay, so I'm just cutting that one off there and this one off the other end as well. Okay, and then just score these other lines, because those are going to be your fold lines for putting your base together. Just make sure you line it up when you score them, because you want it to stand straight. And then score the other one. Just get rid of those 2 little pieces there. So then you can score all these, and then we'll just stick this together, and then we'll make the springs. And the springs are what holds everything else up and helps your card stand up. Okay, so that's that. And then all you need to do is stick these 1/2 inch pieces to your end panel on the ones that you cut the 1/2 inches off. So you've got this one that's got 1/2 inches on the end and this one that hasn't. All right, so I'm just going to put my glue on here. So I'm going to put this one on here and stick that there. and obviously you've got your crease line that you can line it up with, okay, and then the same the other side. And I've done mine so that the 1/2 inch piece is on the outside, just because it makes it easier to line your other piece up with it when you're gluing it together. Okay, so that's your base. Okay, and I'll make sure I put the crease line, the extra pieces at the back, but it won't matter because I'm actually putting things on top of that. Okay, so that's your base of your card. Okay, and then you're going to make the springs. So for the springs, you are going to need 4 pieces, because there's 4 springs on the internal part of this card. Okay, so you need 4 pieces of card which measure 6 3/4 by 1 1/2, and you're going to score them at 3/4, 1 1/2, 2 1/4, 3 3/4, 4 1/2, and 5 1/4. Okay, and you're going to do that on all 4 pieces. So while I'm doing that, you'll be able to write down all the measurements. So your 4 pieces of card are 6 3/4 by 1 1/2 inches, and then you're going to score at 3/4, 1 1/2, 2 1/4, 3 3/4, 4 1/2, and 5 1/4. Okay, and then what you need to do is fold them so that you can put them together as springs. Now let me remind myself how I did this. Yeah, like that. So you go in, fold it in on itself, and then fold the next one back on itself, and then fold that one in on itself. So you've got mountain, valley, mountain. Okay, and then the same the other end. You want that, that, and that, so that when you've folded it up, you've just got a square. Okay, I'm going to do this 4 times, so by the time I've finished them all, you should have worked. You should be au fait with how the folding goes. And I'm just going to put my glue down here, and again lining it up so that it's that extra piece is on the outside. You're not going to see any of these because you're going to hide them all. Okay, so that's all of them made and glued, and those are all the springs that are going to go inside your card. Now I'm going to show you where to line them up. So we've got 4 springs, and there's your base card. All right, so one of the springs will go at the back, and these are obviously smaller than your base card. Okay, so you can line them up by standing them on your surface. Let's move this out of the way, so we don't need that again. That's better. Okay, so stand your spring on your desktop, craft desk, whatever, and you're putting one in the middle at the back and one in the middle at the front. Okay, and they will sit like that. Don't glue them together, just glue them to the actual base of your card. So if I put my glue on here, now you can see now probably why I've made one already that I wanted to be 100% dry and adhered properly, because I didn't want it to move. So that's the first one, and then this one will go attached to the front. And it doesn't matter where you place the piece that you've glued to fasten your spring, it doesn't matter because you're not going to see them anyway, no matter where you put them. All right, so that one will go on the front and sit in the front like that. And then the other two, now obviously you can see now why you need to burnish your score lines, because it will make those springs sit better in that card. Yeah. Okay, Mary, thank you for that. I mean, they're a pretty standard spring, aren't they? You've used it on one of your cards, I know, as well, that were on the blog. So it's one of those things that is always useful. So then the other two will sit in between these two. And I've glued mine. They literally come halfway across the springs you've already put in. So I would then glue these to these springs. So that's the base of your card, okay? Now I'm not going to glue all that together because I have already got one here already done, okay? And you can see those springs do exactly what it says. It will fold flat. I think you'd probably have to make a box or your own envelope, because I measured this when it was sort of, when it's finished, I think it's probably about 9 inches tall. So it's not going to fit in a standard envelope. You're going to have to make something for it, or make it for somebody that lives around the corner so you don't have to post it. So I thought I would, as I said, I've used the nested stitch bubble squares as Tina did, and the middle two squares, so that's the smallest two. And these are the base ones, and this is what I did put into that star embossing folder. With hindsight, I think I would probably have left them plain, but I've embossed them now and I'm not going to scrap them, so I'm just going to use them as is. Apart from anything else, I'm going to hide most of the embossing, so that was pretty pointless really. So there's my two smallest squares out of the nested stitch bubbles, and I've just put half a pad on the back just to make it simple, because it's all it needs really. And then I'm going to put the smaller one on top of the larger one, like so. And then these are going to go on the 4 panels here and here. Okay. Okay, so that's those. And then obviously Tina had put stars on these, so I've cut my stars. But you can't guess what colour. Purple stars. Okay, so these are then going to go on those 4 square panels on the base. Okay, so that's those 4. And I think while we're at it, we'll put the sentiments on the front and on the back. So this is going to decide which is the front and which is the back. So if I put this one here, now I've put 3D pads on this because I wanted this to sort of sit proud. And you can see what I mean about it needing to be a little bit bigger, that central panel, just to fit that sentiment on. Normally that would have been sort of more square and these would have been a little bit bigger, but it's fine. It looks fab anyway. So, and I loved this piece, the game over on the back. I thought that was a genius touch. Genius. Okay, so that's my base. I just hope my stars don't fall off because I've glued 2 mirror cards, you know, the holographic card, so it'll take a while to dry, but never mind. So then you need to put all your stars together. All right, now I've used, as I'm sure you've probably already worked out before I even went live, I've used purple satin card, I've used Lisa's holographic card, and pink texture card, because I just wanted it to be girly, and I think pink and purple's about as girly as you can get. So I've already put everything together and I've added all the little sentiments that I wanted to use, and you can see that I've put them on acetate strips. Okay, now I'm going to work from the back and work forward. This one is a little bit heavier because it's got 3 stars and the headphones, so it's a little bit heavier. So what I've done was I've used 2 strips of acetate and stuck them together. Okay, now as regards length, I'm not going to give you any measurements for the length of the acetate, because that's going to depend on what you're putting on this base and where you want to site everything. Okay, the only measurement I would give you is for the width of the acetate, and that is 3/4 of an inch wide. And the reason I went with 3/4 of an inch was I wanted to be properly stable. Okay, and I think if you'd have gone any narrower, I don't think it would have been quite as stable. It would have been a little bit floppy. See, it moves, but it doesn't sort of totally bend over. You know, it's going to stand up. Okay, so let's put the one at the back first. Now I've stuck my acetate to the back of the star, okay, with double-sided tape, the red liner tape. It's one of the few times I use red liner tape because I don't like the fact that it dries out. But with the acetate, I think the red liner tape is the safest option. So I've glued that to the back of the star, and I've put red liner tape on the back of my acetate because this is going at the back of the base. All right, so if I just take this off here, now I've used 4, 7, 10, 15 stars, I think, but you will use however many you want. I think I might have used a couple more than that actually, because I added an extra one, or where Tina hadn't put a star, so I might have miscounted, but you can work it out and just cut out everything before you sort of put everything together. I'd cut all the stars and the gamer thing and put everything together before I did anything else. Okay, so that's the one at the back. Okay, and I know sometimes Tina uses coffee stirrers. Well, as I never ever 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 go to Costa Coffee because it's too strong for me, I haven't got any of them. So then I'm going to put the next one in, and all you've got to do is decide really where you want your things to sit. All right, it's purely personal choice. Now, did I put that one in first? I think that one went first. So that's going there. Yeah, that's right. So again, I think I've added an extra star on here because I just wanted to go a little bit madder, a little bit more girly. I mean, it doesn't have to be pink and purple for a girl, does it? It could be yellows and oranges, and it could be any colour, their favourite colours, you know. There are girls that hate pink and purple. Strange people, but, you know, each to their own. So go with whatever colours you want to do, what suits the person that you're giving it to, you know. So this is just a case of, and I've added 3 strips of liner tape, again for stability, just to give it that extra bit of support. And I think, although you can see the acetate, I really don't think it matters, because it's, you know, everybody knows it's got to stand up somehow. So that's those 2. Then these 2. So that one's going on the front there. That's right. Now, as I say, I didn't give you any measurements for the length of the acetate, because you can see already, if I just lay that down, you can see they're at different heights. So at the end of the day, you just cut the acetate to where you want it on the card. No, so you just cut the length of the acetate to suit where you want to put it on the card, how tall you want it to be, and how much you want to see the piece behind. But I think it's nice that you can just see different parts of it looking in different places. Do you know what I mean? I think with this sort of card, you don't look at it all in one go. You look at it in different levels, different angles. And it's just the beauty of the card. So I'll just add this one down like so. And you can add them wherever you want on these springs. All right? I've just gone sort of front and back of the internal springs so that they're not all on the same side of the spring. Just because, really. Just because. So that one's going there. And then the little one at the front, I wanted a little bit shorter so that it sort of sat at the front. And then when I put this in, I want to catch this, because I haven't glued this down, but I want this to catch on the inside of that box like that. Okay, which it will do. I just have to remember to tuck it in before I actually glue it down. So I need to tuck that little wire in before I put it on the front here. I'm going to stand it up because it's easier to add. It's such a clever little card, but such a big looking card. Do you know what I mean? It's a fancy looking card, and it'll be the only one that people get. Now, I used 2 pieces of acetate on this back piece, and I'm wondering whether I should have used 3, if I'm honest, because it is sort of folding back a little bit, but it's not going to fold back very far. But you can tell now, if you'd have used, see how it's falling back, if you'd have used a lesser weight card, so if you'd have used, say, Lisa's extra smooth card, which is a fabulous card for anything else, I don't think it would have been heavy enough. And that's why you need to use a heavier weight card for your base, so that if this leans back like that, it's not going to fall over, okay? Because you've got that heaviness in the weight of the card base. So I might have used 3 pieces of acetate on this, or indeed a coffee stirrer, or, you know, one of those long wooden skewers or something like that, and sort of cover it with something. But it worked, and it stood up, and it looks good, and it's pink and purple, and it's girly, and it'd suit a girly gamer. That's a clever card. I like it. So I hope you got all the measurements down. If I lie it down, you can see it properly. Okay. I will love you and leave you there. Thank you so much for joining me. I really appreciate it, and it's nice to see so many of you here. So have a fabulous week, everybody, and I'll see you all very soon. Take care now. Bye.